Yes.
Let's go. We're good?
Yep.
We're live?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening. I'm calling the meeting to order. It's now 7:00 p.m. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is to my right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I just realized my mic wasn't on. Now our next item is an anticipated adjournment to the executive session. May I please get a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters and/or employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Is it, okay, it's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're now in executive session. We should be out at 8:00 sharp. Thank you. Usually the art room or prep room?
The art room straight ahead.
Okay, thank you.
It depends on the community, and it depends on the supervisor.
Okay.
But they don't do these things. Like ours, they have a group, they have a large, they don't make the connection to
Mr. Parker, please let me know when we are ready to go. We're ready to go. Great. Hello, Mr. Lorente Valley. How are you? Oh, there's Miss Good. Okay. The time is now 8:04, and we've now returned to public session. The first item on our agenda is introduction of new hires. Ivy, do we have any? No. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Do we have? No. Next item on our agenda is Highview Elementary School presentation. That would be for you, Mr. Mastrangelo.
There we go. Testing. Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to Highview School. My name is Gary Mastrangelo. I am right there. This is my 19th year here at Highview. It's my 41st overall. And then as each person gets to talk a little bit tonight, they will also let you know how long they've been here. You can see it right up there. We have 10 years, 2 years, 3 years, and first year. So we run the gamut here at Highview. We are going to talk about some SEL initiatives, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Callanan.
Hi, everyone. Here at Highview, we have many SEL initiatives just to foster a sense of belonging within our students. One of the initiatives we included was Balloons Over Broadway. This was something that we did for Thanksgiving. Every student here created their own balloon, and they came down to the gym and had a parade so other students can see what kind of balloons they created. In the next slide, you see multiple ways that we have SEL in here at Highview. Many times I hear my students say, I don't know or I can't, and that is why we included the power of yet in many of our classrooms. So many of the students will say, but I can't, and my other students will say, yet, which is a great way to encourage other students to engage in their academics. We also have a scavenger hunt for World Kindness Week. We included this for World Kindness Week, which was in November, and we did kindness shout-outs. So each week and each day, the students would be shout out for nice acts that they've seen within the school. And in the middle, you see Ms. McGlynn's class engaging in SEL, where they read outside.
I'm Alexis Rogers. This is my second year at Highview, my 9th year teaching overall.
Haley Callanan, 3rd year and 6th year teaching.
Thank you. And here more is highlighting on the bottom some of the bulletin boards that we have around the schools that a lot of teachers put some great effort into, especially when it comes to SEL. In the middle is stuff with clues to beat the winter blues, where students can come over, take one out and read it, as well as some mugs of gratitude around. And then on the bottom right corner is another classroom that has what brings you joy, and students are able to come around and get a marker and write little things that give you joy. An email was sent out to all the teachers to tell their students all about it, and it's right by the recess field, so it's a nice way to get everybody engaged with SEL.
It's tough to see over here. So infrastructure, how are we building the infrastructure of Highview? This year was our second annual SEL faculty family kickball game. You can see the entire crew there. The staff was there, the parents were there, and the students. How are the students picked? So I've talked before about how I get to have lunch with students. Highview rocks, if you don't remember. R is respectful, O is open-minded, C is caring, K is kind, S is knowledge, S is safe. So if you rock for the month, your classmates get to vote you as Citizen of the Month. At the end of the month, I get to have lunch with them. So in the month of October, the students who were the Citizens of the Month, they are on the faculty team, and Mr. Costa, our phys ed teacher, coordinates this. So he sends an email out to the community, and if a parent wants to play, they send an email basically saying, can I play? And then their child gets to play with them. So it's faculty and Citizens of the Month against parents and their children, and we had our second annual game. I would like to say that the faculty won this year. So we are very excited about that. So next year with the third annual, we'll see if the families get the trophy back. Here are some more pictures. Mr. Costa, in every single phys ed class, at the end, no matter what they're doing, the kids get together, form two lines, and in September they walk by and high five and say, good game, good game, good game. Now that it's December, they've abbreviated it because they know this, and they say GG, GG. This was the first picture here. You can see everybody saying good game to each other. So they're just encouraging good sportsmanship. Students actually made posters for which teams they were rooting for, and some staff members high-fiving because staff won. Okay. The United Way?
United Way came to us with a grant. Yes, so this is our second year into it. And then the next pictures, you'll see some things that they've done. So of course they, not only do they help with homework and they make sure homework's done, I can attest to it. I've seen some great help from their homework. Also engaging some other SEL activities or just fun activities with each other, and also physical education activities where they bring people in and teach them about being healthy as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Verily Woodward. I'm a second grade teacher here at Highview. This is year 10 at Highview and year 20 teaching overall. So parental involvement is big here at Highview. It encourages enrichment. It develops inquirers. It has a positive impact on a student's self-esteem. It increases teacher morale to have parents help out in the classroom and even around the building. And it improves the learning environment. And here you see in room 7, we have various activities through science, with a community member or grandparent of the community, Ms. Davis, as well as another parent participating in a read aloud.
So our Read for 2025 celebration took place in December. It's always the first Friday of every in December. Originally, it was sponsored by Scholastic Book Company, and it was, for example, back in 2014, it was Read for 2014, which basically meant 2014 seconds. We would round it up to about an hour, and that's where the hour came from. So now at Read for 2025, as one student said to me, "But Mr. M, it's only 2024. Yes, we're reading for 2025. So it's basically dropping everything in Read. Third graders are upstairs in the multipurpose area. Second graders are down here in the gym. And it's basically the kids are reading as if they were going to sleep at night. So they're in their pajamas. They bring a blanket or a sleeping bag. Some brought a stuffed animal. They read for an hour. I interrupted by reading a story, a holiday story to the second graders, and I read one to the third graders. And we basically shut down the school for an hour and read silently, staff and students. So if anybody called from 9:30 to 10:30 and no one answered, the secretaries were reading as well. So that's the reason why. Communication.
There are many different ways that we communicate at Highview. For example, one is our Spirit Committee. When we have our Spirit Days, we make sure it's in Spanish as well as English so that all parents are able to understand when the Spirit Committees are. These occur bi-monthly, and we try to change them up and make them fun every day.
Also, many of the teachers at Highview use the Remind app in addition to emailing, but I decided to have a class webpage, so every month I update it for my parents to let them know the happenings within Highview and district-wide, along with things that are happening throughout the whole entire year. So whatever the parents need, they have access to it through our class webpage.
And the lower left, don't expect you to read that, but that is one of my weekly updates every Friday or the last day of the week. I send out basically what took place this past week and what's coming up over the next couple of weeks. But I do this every Friday. I send it out, and I copy myself, so when it comes back to me, I forward it to our board liaison, Rebecca Sampaleo, and she gets a copy of it as well. So she gets updated to know what's happening in Highview also. Going along the lines of communication as part of the strategic plan, I know that in that 5-year plan, we did have a plan to add digital signage boards on each of the campuses, but Highview being the first, I think because of its location, the plan was to have it down where our board is now, which is all done manually. But on Central Avenue, we would not only advertise what's going on at Highview, but all of the other schools and what's taking place in Greenberg. It would be on both sides, so the traffic going up and down Central Avenue could see what's going on. It would also help because Mr. Polino changes this our senior custodian changes it every month, sometimes twice a month. In the dead of winter, he has to go out there. There is no lock on the board, and oftentimes we will drive in. I've gotten emails from parents saying, such and such was spelled wrong. That's because people go there and take the letters and start moving them around like Wheel of Fortune. So this would eliminate that. If we had a digital board, it could all be done from the privacy of my office, and we could advertise everything that goes on in the district.
Here at Highview, we want to make sure that all children and staff feel welcomed and protected. So in the next slide, you will see we initiated our first Stomp Out Bullying Week by the Spirit Committee, which we're really proud of. This is a week that occurs in the month of October, which is Anti-Bullying Month. And we work together with the SEL committee in creating an assembly for the students. And in that assembly, they identified what is bullying, what are ways to tackle bullying, and how to prevent bullying further.
November 21st was National Parent Involvement Day. And it's always on a Thursday, and my parent coffees are on a Thursday, so it ties in nicely where I had a parent coffee, which this was a part of. Don't be fooled by the lack of attendance in here. The parents were way too busy in their child's classroom to come down and listen to me. But this was, we had maybe 5 or 6 people here. There were about 20, maybe 22 parents in the cafeteria that had an opportunity to talk to. We had 115 people that day. It was amazing. The turnout was great. They stayed up until, we said until 11 o'clock. We had about 100 of our parents stay until 11 o'clock. They shadowed their child. They participated in activities with their child. It truly was a parent involvement day, and we were very proud of that day. And here's more activities.
So as Mr. M has stated, National Parental Involvement Day gave families the opportunity to be a part of their child's learning experience for a period of time. And in these slides, parents from Room 7 engaged in an art project sponsored by the PTA. And we also had a guest reader during our ELA block. So, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We embrace the richness and unique perspectives and experiences, ensure fair opportunities for all, and cultivate an environment where every voice matters. So we've developed protocols that reinforce dignity and respect for all through diversity assemblies, spirit days, Citizen of the Month, and the SEL committee. We also have an updated district-wide and building level plans, which took place through the DEI survey, which led to school-wide initiatives, periodic DEI meetings, and activities within the Innovation Lab.
Well, here you can see some of the things that are incorporated into the classrooms. Down there we have some books that we read where students in 3rd grade shared how they relate to the books that they read, so they see themselves in their learning and are allowed to show how they relate to it and allow their peers to learn more about them and their culture, as well as a guest reader here, and on the top another bulletin board that shows some facts for Black History Month back in the winter. Also, so last month it was Native American Heritage Month, and a lot of teachers really went in to make sure all children were aware of the culture, background, and history of the country that we live in. So down there, there was the bulletin board that's like right above us, actually, that goes down that hallway. It was covered in a lot of great information. So all students, when they have to walk to Innovation Lab, they can see it, they can read it. And then a 2nd grade class, Ms. Kalika, had her students do a project, as well as Ms. Woodward, and they were allowed to post it on the bulletin board as well all across the hall, so lots of students got to do research, so that was really nice to see how that relates. So that's them, and in the middle, and again, Ms. Kalika had a little TB to show the information. You can see that, and the kids engaging with it. And on the right, a 3rd grade student in my class that did a diorama of what they learned about the different Native Americans and how they lived.
Hi, I'm Danielle Dyroff. I'm the new library media specialist and innovation lab tech. Equity, we provide equitable resources, remove barriers, inclusion feedback, and use data to inform decisions. On the left-hand side, you can see some 2nd grade students who ventured outside and are painting pumpkins. The middle section, that's the staff at one of the superintendent days discussing the DEI data that we received. And we had a lot of interesting comments and discussions about that. On the right-hand side, you can see some students doing the morning announcements. Each month, a different class each month a different class takes over and the students rotate.
And last but not least, inclusion. And what is inclusion? Equal opportunity for all. So as you see in some of the pictures below, the ALP class, ICO class, and self-contained class came together and we all painted pumpkins. And in the right picture, Miss McGlynn's class, which is our 3rd grade ALP class, came to my room, the self-contained class, and taught them a project, which was awesome. and not only promoted differences, but it engaged accessibility for all.
Inside the Innovation Lab, students are exposed to monthly thematic units such as Halloween, Harvest, and Winter, to name a few, through an array of STEAM-based activities, and STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. During the lab periods, the second and third graders explore the cultures and traditions of the Greenburgh Central School District community and our much larger global community. Recently, Highview Falcons learned the significance of Dia de los Muertos in Latin cultures, the importance of indigenous companion planting using the Native American myth, the Three Sisters, which were told in English and Navajo, and the history and art of gingerbread houses. And unfortunately for the students, they had to use cardboard and not actual gingerbread. Upcoming lab units include, but aren't limited to, an hour of code in conjunction with the IT department, life cycle of snow with the snowflake consultant for Frozen, and professor of physics at Caltech, Dr. Ken Liebrick, dinosaur and fossil identification, and women's Lego history challenge. As you can see, it's going to be an exciting rest of the school year in the Innovation Lab at Highview.
So the fun doesn't end. We keep going. Our future plans, we have a number of assemblies coming up. We have one for Black History Month, Lunar New Year. Last year was the first time that students from the middle high school came over to, they came to each of the schools, but at Highview, they were dressed in Chinese costumes and Chinese dress. They did dances, not only on the stage, but around the entire gym. Some of the kids got up and started to participate. They will be joining us again this year. We have a Women's History Assembly. We are trying to get someone to come in and speak to our students. We have classroom celebrations. We had some in the winter. We're having some in the spring. We mentioned before the daily morning announcements that are ongoing from all of the students in the building. The student morale, Ms. Callahan mentioned our Spirit Days. This week is actually part of our Spirit Days. Today was Fuzzy Sock Day, so you might see some people with fuzzy socks. I actually don't have them on today, but tomorrow's Ugly Sweater Day, so if you happen by Highview, you're going to see a whole bunch of ugly sweaters. Let's see, we have some STEAM displays. Holiday STEAM displays are seasonal, and we also have a relationship with the Greenburgh Nature Center. We don't go to them, they come to us. We have a grant with them as well, and they are, when the weather changes in the spring, they'll be coming here to work with our second and third graders on planting and learning about living things like worms, and the kids handle the worms, and it's pretty fun. And that is it. So thank you very much for letting us show you some highlights from Highview School this year and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mastrangelo. We may have some questions from board members, trustees. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Trustee Valen?
Thank you for that great presentation. It's making me miss the days when I would be here often. It sounds like a lot of fun being here. I'd like to address, you mentioned the DEI meetings that I saw you were in the Little Theater there, and I know some of the feedback we got from various stakeholders, including students, not students from this building, but older students, mentioned that they're really looking for a sense of belonging. And I know that in years past, you've had different versions, different iterations of mentoring programs, and I'm just wondering, is there anything like that happening this year?
There is, for the last handful of years, and thank you for that, because that's something we failed to put up there, Highview Helpers. So what that is, and a letter will be going out shortly, we will be starting that in January. The letters are going out right after the holiday, basically letting the parents know that if you are interested, you could sign your child up. You have to give permission to sign your child up, which will basically give their child another adult to reach out to talk to build rapport with, to trust. So it's not just their teacher, but it could be, and it usually is, someone other than their own teacher. I have signed up to be a Highview helper. Mr. Polino and Mr. Juan, our custodians, are Highview helpers. We have security members that are Highview helpers. It can be anybody. And what we will do is usually once, maybe twice in a month, maybe 3 times in a month, we will take that child maybe during a lunch or a recess and have lunch with them, walk around, shoot baskets with them, and just talk and get to know them. So what will happen is if something were to happen along the lines, either in class or on the playground or in lunch or at home, they could come to their Highview helper and say, I'd like to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. It kind of broadens their opportunity to talk to others. So yes, thank you for that. We do have Highview helpers.
Thank you. Are there any other trustees with questions? Trustee Warner and then Jacobson.
I think you may have covered it already. Are there opportunities for members of the community to come in, not necessarily parents, but members of the community to come in and read to the children?
So we did have that in the past. We had Hartsdale Rotary. I am still in contact with them. They made a donation to us earlier this year of headphones for all of Greenburgh. They donated, I believe it was 100 headphones for each of the 3 schools, Highview, Jackson, 4 schools, Jackson, Highview, Bailey, and the middle school. Each got 100 headphones. They, I will say, unfortunately, since COVID, have not rejoined us for reading volunteering. For those of us who have been around a while, you may remember Bradley, the dog, who used to come here, and Mona would bring Bradley in and kids would read to him. We don't have those initiatives anymore, but I do know that teachers have had parents come in and they have, parents have read to their classes. But yeah, we welcome the opportunity to have community members come in and see our kids and read to them. And we had our lockdown earlier this year, and the police officers were here, and one of them said, do you mind if we just stop in every once in a while? I said, no, we want you to do that, because what's going to happen is a parent will call and say, I saw a police car at the school, what happened? Nothing. They came by to say hello. They came by to visit the kids. That's what we want. The more they're here, the less of the scare of why was a police officer at the school. Something wrong. Something must have happened. Yeah, they stopped by to say hello. So even if one of the officers wants to come by and read, they're more than welcome to do that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Jacobson?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Highview does SEL incredibly well. Full transparency, I have a 3rd grader here who loves it to death. And over the course of time, from when my oldest was here and now with Cora, seeing the level of parent involvement increase. I don't think you gave yourself enough credit for the last parent coffee on Parent Involvement Day. I think we were probably like 30 plus parents that were there and very actively engaged. I think having it that morning was really helpful, and it allowed for people who don't always get to participate to be able to be here and be in the building. But to that point, I think as I've seen the parent involvement increase, I've also seen the line outside the building increase. So like this morning, I stayed outside for 20 minutes in line waiting to come in for the winter concert, which was awesome. It was really, really fantastic. But I do know, like on Parent Involvement Day, I heard from parents that they were outside for 40 minutes. And so like parents who are, especially working parents who are trying to squeeze in whatever they possibly can, or if they have kids in multiple schools and are trying to hit all these different things, I do know as part of the tech committee that we do have ways to streamline that process more through the Raptor system. And so I highly encourage you to figure out a system that allows more parents to participate more actively, more often. And I would hate for parents to not participate because they can't allow 30 plus minutes to be outside when they want to be inside with their kids.
Thank you, and I agree with you. We've talked about this too. We're on the same page. I don't know this to be true, but I believe this is the case, and I would have to talk to somebody with more expertise in the area of technology. But we have 3 machines. We have 4. We have 2 in the vestibule, 1 in the security office, and then we have another laptop that's set up that we put in the cafeteria. That should be enough. But here's what happens, and it happens every time, which makes me believe what I'm thinking is true. The more it's being used, the quicker it freezes. It stops working. And I have mentioned this, and the technology department has said, we'll look into it for the next time. And the next time, for the first couple of minutes, it's working beautifully, and then they freeze. And freeze doesn't mean cold weather. They just stop working. And I have to believe there's some sort of a case in this program that it just gets overloaded and it stops working. That's not our fault. That's not Highview School's fault. I don't know if it happens in the other schools. I don't even know that it's IT's fault. It may be something in the Raptor software, or the Raptor system, where it just stops working when it's being overused. And when you have a line of people coming in and signing in, that's overuse.
Right,
And yeah.
So we're going to continue to have events at schools between Highview and all of our schools. So maybe that's something you guys can talk in your administrative meeting and figure out some options. I know in the past, there's been an override where everyone's allowed in if they're there with, for their kid. Because if it's a safety issue and a security issue and there's not school going on, but a open house event, then the question is, do we still need to screen the same or not? In the past, that has been waived. In the past, go ahead, Trustee Werner.
There's a will call option, that is, you can set it up so that you print out a number of tags for people in advance. If they know they're coming, you go to will call and they just pull it off the roll.
Right, so maybe problem solving this ahead of time, because it's half the year is gone. There's still a whole nother half of year and a whole bunch of events that are going to continue. Are there any other comments, questions, or concerns by trustees? No? Okay, I had a couple of things. I wanted to thank you guys for talking about communication, talking about SEL, looking into sending information to our board liaison. That's really important, because not always are you going to be in the building, and I know Trustee Sampalayo is no longer in the building, so she's not getting your emails, so I think that's great. I wanted to ask about trips, because you talked about the Nature Center coming here, and that has been a hot topic that we've heard from our PTAs, from our PTA councils. Being a parent myself, I'm wondering what happened to trips. So what's going on with trips in your school? Can you tell us about learning outside?
Yes.
and
It's a great question. I've had conversations
trips.
with PLC leaders and with grade levels, and we've talked about, what are you planning on doing this year? And there's a couple of things. Number one, and I think first and foremost, the cost of trips is out of control. It's absolutely out of control. The buses themselves cost an arm and a leg, and the trip itself costs the other arm and a leg. So now we're sending kids on trips that, and we do not ask parents for money. We don't do that. So we're going on a trip, costs $19, send us a check for $20 and we're good. We haven't done that in 15 or 18 years. So the trips are way too expensive. The buses are very, very expensive. We are able to get some of those opportunities brought to us, like the Greenberg Nature Center. There is a trip that the third grade has gone on a number of times to Yonkers, to the science barge in Yonkers. And it is a great assembly for third graders. But I'm hearing now from the teacher who coordinates the trips, and she said it's almost twice as much this year as it was last year. So if that's the case, we cannot afford to send our kids on these excursions, which we would love to do. We just can't do it because we don't have a pot of money and we don't have an opportunity to raise that money.
So, Mr. M, listening to our parents and our PTAs, as well as some of our teachers and instructional staff around curriculum-based trips, something that really looks at the curriculum. I mean, I'm looking at some other school districts that do Nature's Classroom as young as third grade, which is amazing to me because that seems rather young for me, but, or second grade, is it going to say?
We did do Nature's Classroom years ago.
Oh,
We
you did it
We
here?
went, yes.
This grade?
Yes, we did.
It's so
Third
young.
graders.
Okay.
And we used to go on that trip, and I remember going a couple of times and talking to one of the leaders up there, and they said, man, this is amazing. Usually the youngest grade we have is fifth, but third grade, this is amazing.
That's awesome.
And it was, but we stopped that trip 15
So,
years
I mean, I'm
ago.
going to challenge you, and superintendent is here, so maybe also if you want to have this conversation, maybe a survey to your parents. I don't know what the cohort of parents in second and third grade might think, but parents may be willing to pay $20. If it is an inflated cost, we know everything has gone up, and busing plus the trip is expensive. Maybe parents would be willing to pay $20, or there's also, if things are planned ahead of time through the curriculum that's coming up for that upcoming year, sometimes there's discounts through Title I, sometimes there's grants that can be given, but I just know that we've heard from so many parents wanting to revisit out of the school trips. And actually, parents have also talked about having large families and not being able to take their large family on a trip, but if they go with school, they have that experience with the school and with their cohort. So I don't know if the administrative team can look at that, look at options, maybe just get feedback. Because listen, every cohort may change. Maybe this cohort of parents doesn't want to pay $20, but maybe next year you may get parents in that say, look, majority of us do. So maybe it's just obtaining some feedback from the parents that you have that year.
We will definitely do that.
But I hope you guys can look into that. Is there anything else? Any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful
Thanks very
presentation.
much.
Next on our agenda is policy presentation. I'm going to turn the meeting over to my Vice President, Trustee Valen.
Sorry, okay. So there's one policy being presented to the public tonight. It will be considered for board adoption at the January regular meeting, and the public is welcome to comment on this policy, make suggestions or changes or any other comments they'd like to make by submitting it in writing to the Board of Education at board@greenburghcsd.org. The policy we're presenting is policy number 7420, Sports and the Athletic Program. There were some changes to the policy suggested by Erie Wambosis as well as our legal team. The board did discuss this policy at the work session earlier this month. I do not remember what we said, but I know that that meeting was taped and available for viewing. If there's no other questions, we can move to the next agenda item.
Any questions, comments, or concerns, trustees? Next item on our agenda are committee and liaison reports. Item C1, are there any committee reports? Trustee Jacobson?
I have a tech committee report that I will try my best to summarize because we've been doing quite a lot. Right now, I want to come back to that part. There is the month-long Hour of Code has started. It started with ECP in Jackson. It's going to be rolling out over the next several months. And each school should have more coding info about what they are specifically doing in their buildings on their websites, so you can follow along. There is a decision to make sure that people can access the past Falconers from 2022 and ongoingly so that we can keep track of everything that we've been working on over time. There's still training happening and fine-tuning around the calendar capabilities on the website so that families can subscribe easier to different calendars within the district so they can make sure they're up to date on all new information. There's some concerns around parents are either inadvertently or on purpose blocking district emails and then realizing that they're missing information and getting upset about it. So we're asking that if you have inadvertently started blocking parent or district emails, to make sure that you undo that. I also recommend subscribing to Remind and School Messenger to make sure that you're always up to speed on changes that happen within the district. Bailey has sent out a survey for parents in response to concerns, and at the last parent coffee too, around Chromebooks. Right now, the user policy that we have all students and families sign says that each student is assigned their own Chromebook, and that is not the case at Bailey because they are using a shared model. So there is some information and data being solicited from families about their thoughts on it. I personally, just speaking from my own, because I have a kid there, found the survey to be a little confusing. And so if you have questions, I suggest you bring them up because I don't know if we're going to really fully capture the data that we're trying to get. There are also some not so great numbers on the completion of the digital equity survey. So please, if you haven't done that already for your children, please do that. And paper copies are available at the schools if you need a paper copy. And if you haven't done the acceptable use policy yet, please do so, particularly if your student is at Lee of Jackson and some of the younger schools. You might not realize that that's part of also their access to the network and the internet within the buildings, even if they're not necessarily on a computer at that moment. Trail cameras were installed and additional building cameras are in progress. We're looking at different ideas for the auditorium at Woodlands for sound and lighting. And we've gained additional Verizon extenders to enhance the Wi-Fi around Woodlands and looking to do more. We are continuing to review plans for swipe cards. And as I brought up with the Highview staff about looking at how Raptor can be adjusted for larger scale events to help promote more parent involvement. The last couple things are, we have been moving through migration to make sure everything is backed up and there's duplicative information to make sure we don't lose any information over time. And there were some concerns about parent-teacher conference scheduling and how that has kind of run into each other, and making sure that we address that also from a tech standpoint and making sure everything is up and running properly. And we tabled a bunch of things for the next meeting, which we still don't have. I still need to establish a date. It will be sometime in January, and that will be public. Sorry, that was a lot of information.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments
I have a
about the tech
question.
committee? Yes, trustee Mans?
Trustee Jacobson, when is the digital equity survey due? Is there a due date on that?
I don't know off the top of my head, but sooner the better.
Yeah, I get an email all the time. That's why.
Yes,
And I
because
filled mine out.
we're low on numbers, and so we need those numbers to show and make sure that all of our students have the access that they need at home and at school.
Sorry, the latest email says due by Friday, December 27th.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, are there any other committee reports? Excuse me. Trustee Valen and Warner?
Okay, this is off memory because I have not yet done the minutes. So the Finance Committee met on December 11th. We reviewed the recent Rockefeller Institute for Government report on the foundation aid and their proposed changes. I'm not going to go over all of that right now. There's been a lot in the news. There's an ISBA summary. The board has been well informed, and if not, I will make sure it's in the packet this week. Basically, there's a lot of suggested changes that may or may not help us. The legislature's going to take a look at it in January to see what, if anything, they incorporate, and we're in a holding pattern for now. The one good thing is that the governor did say that she would, for the upcoming budget year, maintain the save harmless, i.e. we will not receive any less funding than we did last year. Okay, then we took a look at the monthly treasurer's reports and suggested some changes to help with board oversight and understanding. Part of those changes are some things that the board would have seen in the packet this last week, which are additional reports on appropriations and revenue for the different funds, including capital, grant. I don't have it open, so I can't speak to it, but you'll see more reports now monthly with some year-to-date information. And that's my quick summary. We next meet in January, but the date and/or time may change, so I'm not announcing that at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, trustee Valen. Trustee Warner?
Okay, I have two community engagement meetings to report on. The Community Engagement Committee meeting met on November 25th at R.J. Bailey at 7 p.m. Topics discussed included results of the Diversity Equity Survey, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Survey, student test scores, results that had been released by the state, finally on data.nysc.gov, suggestions and resources for supporting our limited English proficiency parent population, recent district events, including Halloween parades, the marching band at the New Rochelle Thanksgiving Parade, and the Pioneer League indoor soccer games. Upcoming events, including sports, games, holidays, Computer Education Week, winter concerts, and Board of Education and committee meetings. The pending appointment of Linda McMahon as Secretary of Education and her policy agenda. The upcoming Science Lab water main vote to release $8.2 million at no additional cost to taxpayers. How to measure how much the community uses our social media platforms. And then now the second meeting. The Community Engagement Committee met again on December 16th at Woodlands at 7 p.m. We discussed possibly holding a superintendent's dessert for our April 9th CEC meeting that emphasizes services for limiting English proficiency parents. And there was also a suggestion that would include principals and Catherine Adore. We'll check on staff availability, cost of food, and who to invite. Reviewed the upcoming vote on a proposition to release funds for the Water Main Science Lab project, which again, the vote is on January 14th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. In the Woodlands Gymnasium, and it's to improve the water flow from all the fire hydrants and redo all 9 science labs at Woodlands. We briefly reviewed ongoing construction in the district. The Woodlands football field parking lot solar panel carport frame is up. So if you go, that's what you'll end up parking under while we're generating solar power. The Highview natural gas trench, I'm sure you've noticed, is on the north side of Highview. The driveway got closed off. The bids for the tennis court, the track, the roof at Woodlands, and the flat portion of the R.J. Bailey roof are on tonight's agenda to the bidders that will actually do the construction. The Woodlands security vestibule continues to be unfinished while the lawyers continue to negotiate. We recapitulated the Rockefeller state aid reform study discussed in depth at the Finance Committee meeting. Yes, we did. Many of the recommended reforms are good. This is exactly what you said, but phasing out the hold harmless position would negatively impact the district because we're considered a wealthy district according to that formula. Governor Hochul's pledged not to support any legislation that withhold harmless phase-out positions this year. Free toys. Donated toys are available from the United Way for K-6 parents. There's a two-toy limit. There's a web topic on Greenberg. Yes. There's a web topic on greenbergcsd.org. The PTA Council is asking for donations to fund their innovative educator grants. If you're interested in making a donation, contact the council at gcsdptacouncil475@gmail.com. The test scores, we went over the third through, yes? Oh, you're asking me all right, to shorten it? All right, our test scores are a little better, 3 through 8, than the usual suspects that have demographics similar to ours. We've reviewed the November 24th events, Computer Science Week, Woodlands Middle School Winter Concert, Woodlands High School Winter Concert, and Rebecca Samplea reviewed a list of upcoming events. We reviewed statistics on social media subscriptions, views, and likes for district Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. The next meeting for the Community Engagement Committee is January 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at Lee F. Jackson. Do you want me to read the facilities report? Yes. The Facilities Committee met on Thursday, December 12th at 8 p.m. in the Woodlands Innovation Lab. We reviewed the status of ongoing construction projects, the gas pipe trench, the solar carport, the new carpet at R.J. Bailey Auditorium, boiler lockout issues at Lee F. Jackson and Highview, the lack of activity at the Woodlands Security Vestibule. In contrast, 98% of our energy performance contract lighting upgrades at Woodlands is complete. The bids for the tennis court. The Phase 1 closeout, the Highview window wall project has an insurance issue. We're getting close to getting it, though. We generated a list of potential science lab donor firms, confirmed our updated asbestos management plans are available at the principal's office of each district school, confirmed that our book of safety data sheets for each chemical substance used is available at the custodian's office in each district school. The next meeting of the Facilities Committee is January 16th at 6:30 p.m. in the Woodlands Innovation Lab. Do you want me to go on and talk about Lee F. Jackson?
No. Okay. Are there any other committee reports? I do have a Safety Committee report. I'm going to be very quick. Our Safety Committee met on November 4th, 2024. Members present were myself, Ms. Raymond, Trustee Sempalayo, Dean Jason Head, and Mr. Will Washington arrived a little bit late. We talked about the committee charges. We talked about the security project status, including the vestibule and the capital safety and security projects. We talked, the Dean of Climate and Culture talked about a new student system that he wanted to discuss. at the next meeting. I encouraged him to prepare information, pros, cons, and opposition to his concern, as well as information about costs, and he was going to present that to the board. We talked about security staff and privatization, what other schools do, and we looked at some data and information. We went into closed session, which I will not talk about those details at this time. I can say we talked about things that had to do with security, but I can't give you the details because that is closed session. Open session, we talked about possibly bonding for security needs, and meeting dates for our next meeting, which would be Monday, February 3rd. In new business, the idea of new equipment came up as well, and needing to present information to the Board of Education. And Mr. Washington brought up continuity of security and questioned whether or not staff is able to view footage on their cell phones and the levels of access by building principals. Again, the next meeting is on February 3rd, 2025. Are there any other committee reports? I'm going to ask that we push our liaison reports later in the agenda. The next item is our ex officio student member. However, trustees, if you would bear with me, and notice that we do have a tenure personnel here. That's item E1. And she's been patiently waiting, it looks like, with family here to look at her tenure. And tenure is a very important thing here in the district. It means that you're officially a member of the family. It's like, you know, when you're untenured, you're dating, but when you're tenured, you're getting married, right? And it's harder to get out, right? You gotta be stuck in it for a little bit and work things out, right? Good way to look at it. Tenure is very, very important, and just like a marriage or a wedding, it's something to be greatly celebrated. We normally do tenures at the end of the year, but you were a mid-year hire, and so you're a mid-year tenure. I definitely would like trustees to review this item. Does anybody object to us doing this tenure item E1 right now? Off agenda, sorry. Hearing no. Can I get a motion, please?
Be it resolved that as recommended by the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education does hereby confer tenure upon Jessica Griffin in the special subject area of speech and hearing handicapped effective February 2nd.
I move that we approve that resolution that was just read.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ivy, can you poll the board, please? Yes or no, trustee Sampalayo?
Yes.
Yes.
Can't hear you. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Congratulations. Welcome to the family, Greenberg Central School District. Okay, thank you so much. Would you like to come up and say something? Is there a mic for her, or she can maybe talk on this mic? It says here that your tenure is in the special subject area of speech and hearing handicapped. So you work with some of our most wonderful children who have some speech and hearing issues? Push green button. Yep.
Hello? Okay. Well, first and foremost, thank you all so much. It's really an honor. I'm not only grateful to be a member of the Greenberg Central School District Committee, but I'm also a Greenberg member, so this is a double celebration, and I just appreciate all you do all year long for us, our students, our community. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you. It's an honor. I absolutely love my job. I adore coming to work every day. I'm biased, but they are the most incredible students, and it's just an honor to be a small blip on their communication journey, because communication brings us all together, and it's just an honor. But thank you all so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Have a good night. Thank you for being so patient. I'm very sorry, but you hear all the wonderful things we're doing. Okay, trustees, thank you for the deviation from our agenda. Next item on our agenda are liaison reports. Do we have any liaison reports this evening? Trustee Warner.
Okay, Lee F. Jackson, this is the last day of the winter coat drive, which ran from December 3rd to December 17th. This initiative aims to collect gently used winter coats, new hats, scarves, and gloves for children at ECP and Lee F. Jackson who need them this winter season. December 16th through December 20th is Holiday Spirit Week. December 18th and 19th, parent-teacher conferences, 11:30 a.m. dismissal for all Lee F. Jackson K-1 students. December 20th is the IB Sharing Assembly in the Lee F. Jackson Cafetorium at 9:45 a.m. It features Mrs. Carter's class, Ms. Holmes' class, and Ms. Van Necky's class. And then Computer Science Week. LFJ Computer Science Week is 12th, 13th, and 14th the 13th through the 20th. We're collaborating with our district technology department at WMHS, together with a few other high school students. They provide STEAM and robotic activities. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Warner. Any other liaison reports? Trustee Long?
I have just a short report for RJ Bailey. Their parent coffee was last week, and it was very well attended with parents both online and in person. Officer Henry was the guest speaker at that parent coffee, where she talked rather extensively about online safety and methods for parents to approach this with children. I found it quite informative, and the parents were very engaged in it. It was nicely done.
Wonderful, thank you. I was there, I would agree. Trustee Manns?
Yeah, so in terms of ECP, this season has been the season of learning, so I just want to highlight that. The pre-K students are learning about the ABCs of pre-K, which is always be cognitive, which they were. So as Trustee Jacobson mentioned, there was a day of coding there at ECP. There was one day that this month the students were actually teachers for a day, so that was exciting. And Mr. Washington wanted to highlight that they have been using the mobile science lab. This month they focused on the difference between bugs and insects. And the difference there is that bugs have 3 bodies and 6 legs. Insects don't. So with that being said, a couple important dates that are coming up. January 16th is an information session, on pre-registration. It's going to be at 6 o'clock at Woodlands in the auditorium. If it snows that day, they're going to have it on January 23rd. And also on January 25th, they are having a winter celebration for ECP and at Lee F. Jackson, I believe, but I think there'll be more details to share at our next meeting in terms of that one.
Thank you, Trustee Mann. Anyone else want to give an update? Trustee Sampalayo?
Just briefly about Highview, since Mr. Mastrangelo and his team presented a lot of what I had here. The book club met on the 10th and reviewed Gooseberry Park and distributed The One and Only Ivan. They had their reading celebration. They have Spirit Week left with Ugly Sweater, festive accessories, and Pajama Day. Mr. Mastrangelo did want to highlight that outdoor recess is always an option as long as it's not raining heavily or there's not big puddles. The winter assembly was today. Parent-teacher conferences are tomorrow and Thursday. So tomorrow and Thursday there will be an 11:30 dismissal, and then, at Thursday there will be also evening conferences. First marking period report cards are available. Friday we'll have a project save where everybody exits the building at the end of the day, and we return to school on the 2nd.
Thank you so much. Anyone else have any updates? Hearing none, we're going to move on to our next item, which is the ex officio student report. That would be Mr. Leo. Welcome.
So to start off, I have some holiday cards from Coach Tyler and the men's soccer program, so I'm going to hand those out. I think there's 4 down here and 2 down here. So if you could pass those down.
What's this? Thank you.
From the men's soccer program. And on the topic of sports, winter sports have started. It includes men and women's basketball and men's basketball had their first game and won it. So hopefully they're able to recreate the success of last season. And there's also the men's swimming team, the bowling teams, and the track team, which also had their first meet. And the student government of the senior class has set up a Spirit Week, which includes Ugly Sweater Day, as you've heard from the other schools, and a bunch of other things. And they're also organizing the holiday assembly on Friday, in which the faculty members will be singing Christmas carols, so I'm excited to see that. And on a more personal note, I just want to mention that since the beginning of the school year, the school lunches have gotten a lot better. So whatever change you guys made to that, I'm grateful. So thank you.
School lunches have gotten a lot better. I like to hear that. So, any questions, comments, concerns? You sound like you want to say something.
No.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much, Leo, for coming out and for filling us in on what's been happening. Next, we have board president's report. So I just want to not waive my report this meeting, which I do very often, just in the essence of time. It's now 9:02. We will be going back into another executive session, but I wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season. No matter what holiday you celebrate, or if you don't celebrate a holiday at all, you're just going to enjoy the break from the school routine. Please remember during this season to be kind to one another. It's a very difficult season for many. Think about people who don't have families, who don't have loved ones, to take a break. I encourage everyone to please continue to be kind and thoughtful to one another. Next on our agenda is our superintendent's report. I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Iverson.
And I thank you, Trustee Mayers. Good evening, everyone. A lot of what I had on my report tonight has been mentioned. I'll just sort of add a couple of comments around the coding. Yes, we are actively engaged in our month of coding. It will go through mid-January. It's an initiative that aligns with our Computer Science Education Week, so we're very excited about that. We have embraced this teaching in this important STEM skill, even in our ECP classes, which was guided by our middle school students. So I want to give them a shout out and thank them for coming down and working with our ECP students during the month of coding, and to help them learn these foundational skills. So parents, take a minute to ask your child if they have participated yet, and if so, what they learned. Okay, all students will remain in this activity, as I said, till mid-January. We heard Trustee Warner talk about the capital project. What I will add is that the capital project will not impact taxpayers, and that we have created a website portal that contains information about the project's scope, use of capital funds, and how the project would benefit our students and community. So parents and community, we hope you find it useful, and we'll take the time to have your voices heard around that. And lastly, we also heard already about the United Way gift of toys. I'm so happy to share that that is in our partnership with the United Way, and they are being very generous in donating the 300 toys, new toys, to our community and our parents. Two toys to families in need, and trust that you will determine if your opportunity is, if this is what you need and is right for your family. What we encourage you to do, it is on first come, first served basis, so make your requests known. And in my weekly update, there was a link that you could register to for the toys, and you will then be contacted with the details on where to pick them up. So again, I want to wish everyone a happy holiday, and as is already said, Friday we are on Project Save. There are no after-school activities. We will see everyone back in the new year on January the 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Iverson. And next on our agenda is the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Dr. Njoku.
Good evening. Give me 1 second. Good evening.
Good evening.
So just 3 additional items. The district-wide literacy committee, we met in December, and it was a really beneficial time for us to come together. So coming together of teachers across each of the buildings, our school leaders and district leadership, and that time was used to see where we are with the literacy initiatives, look at the data, analyze the data, and just consider next steps, one of which is moving towards expanding the literacy work with a focus on morphology in grades 4 to 8 following the November professional development with our 4-8 teachers, ELA teachers. Also, just a kudos in looking at the data some more, specifically for our NICES SLAT, which is the New York State English as a Second Language Achievement Test. Just giving kudos to our ENL teachers and all those teachers that support our English language learners. In looking at it, every student is provided their own individual expectations based on the level they entered and how many years they've been receiving services. And in terms of our benchmark for elementary and middle school, we exceeded the progress benchmark set by the state, bringing us to level 3 English language proficiency as compared to last year where we were at level 2. So that kudos to that. That's and then finally, the ESSA consolidated applications, our Title 1, 2, and 4 have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Njoku and Trustee Valen.
I apologize. I forgot to mention earlier in committee reports that we have an education committee meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Woodlands Middle High School Innovation Lab concerning our science and social studies programs district-wide. And any other questions that you may come with. There's a little bit of open time, hopefully, at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Dr. Njoku, I did want to ask, and you might have the answer now, that's okay, but if you could get to the board information on our bilingual education, that has to, we were told at the end, I might be mixing this up, so correct me if I'm wrong, we were told at the end of last year that because of our numbers, we have to start looking at bilingual education, meaning from the elementary, for kindergarten, first grade, I guess, having dual, some type of a dual language program. There's different types, and this year was gonna be the planning year, and roll out. Where are you guys with that?
We've been exploring, we visited some schools that currently have, with the director, we visited some schools that currently have programming such as, I believe we've been to Ossining and I believe North Rockland through support with our Auburn. And right now we're at the exploring and planning to see what can be done given the timing, given the resources, so that information has to be shared with the board, but also we have to come together as a committee and speak with the constituents, specifically leadership, around next steps.
Go ahead, Trustee Valen.
Sure.
I'll just add that we specifically planned the January Education Committee meeting topic to be on world languages and ENL, to more fully dive into that topic as part of also our budget planning. So hopefully you'll have more information, and as the committee is met, since we're a committee of the whole, that can be part of that conversation as part of budget planning.
And I do think, Trustee, your mic is on. Oh, look at your thought. Sorry. So I do want to bring up something that might be a little touchy, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. If we are going to do a bilingual, or have to do a bilingual education program, we do need to look at our language program overall. That's what?
I was saying that's why it's both world languages and ENL at that
Right.
meeting, to discuss it as a
And-
whole picture.
Yeah, we need to look at the costs, we need to look at the feasibility, look at our district numbers. You know, our enrollment is not, although certain schools are bursting at the seams, our enrollment isn't necessarily bursting as much, and just how that's going to work out, what is sustainable, what is not. You know, tonight we have an item on our agenda to cover language, so we really need to start looking at that, and parents should be paying attention. Hopefully they're watching this. I don't know how many people are, but it seems like we have about 100 people or so watching over time, and should be attending these meetings and giving feedback on what they like and what they don't like with regard to language program, and maybe attend our education committee meeting tomorrow if they can. If they cannot, maybe try to share their thoughts about these things, because we need to look at the feasibility of our programming and how we're rolling it out for this district. That is it. Trustee Valen.
Sorry, new topic, just quick question. Dr. Njoku, I don't remember where we are on UPK grant approval.
UPK grant approval, we have, we're in constant contact with our NYSED rep, so we have the draft ready for submission, but it needs to be just an additional review. No problem.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is Assistant Superintendent for Business, Mrs. Raymond.
Thank you. So the general fund began the month of October with $15,919,315. We deposited $32,498,692 and dispersed $7,983,418 to end the month with $40,434,589. We've conducted the majority of our budget meetings. We may have one or two left. I will be putting together the list of new items that all principals and directors have requested to present to Dr. Iverson and for future board meetings. And then the only other thing I just wanted to comment on was that the energy performance contract, as was discussed in a recent meeting, is 50% complete at this time. They do expect, meeting we had today, Mr. Messina said they do expect to be done by the end of May. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. Any questions, comments? I just wanted to follow up, Ms. Raymond, any update on our vestibule?
So the update on that is that our construction attorney is still working closely with our surety to get the new companies up and running, and they hope to start that after the holidays to begin finishing that work.
Okay, so they begin, when you say begin finishing that work, do you mean construction, actual construction after the holidays?
Correct.
That would be wonderful. We can clap for that. It's been like 6 years in the making. Oh, you don't want to clap? People feel a little suspicious about clapping. They don't want. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ms. Raymond. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we have our regular meeting approvals, but I believe we have a second executive session. Is there a motion?
I move that we adjourn to executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations, the employment history of particular persons, personnel matters and employee records, and matters deemed confidential by state or federal law, including seeking advice from counsel.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. We're now in executive session. It's 9:14 PM. Thank you. All right. Mr. Parker, please let me know when we're ready to move forward. Ivy, we're going to be polling.
We got to go through all of it.
David, call the personnel motion so that it's separate, please.
I've got E1 is done and E5 is termination. So
Yep.
I'll do E2 through E4.
Thank you. You got it. Let me know when we're ready. Thank you. Thank you all. We are back in public session. The time is now 11:13 PM, and we're going to move forward with our agenda. Can I get a motion, please?
I move that we approve items E2 through E4 in instructional personnel presented to the board for the approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I believe we did E1 previously, and now we have E5. Is there a motion?
I move that we poll the board to pass motion E5.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion? Yes. I have discussion. I cannot approve this item. Unfortunately, due to the holiday season, I think we need to wait for termination. In addition, I did not hear of a plan that's in place that makes me feel comfortable enough to approve this item. I don't know if anyone else has a comment? Hearing none, Ivy, please poll the board.
No. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No. Thank you. Can I get a motion for item D2, personnel non-instructional items?
Excuse me.
Yes?
We didn't do E6 through E11.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Or did, unless,
E1
David,
is
you only
done.
did 2 through 4 the first time, right?
That's correct. So there's an E6?
There's E6 through E11.
Thank you, trustee Valen. Do you want to make a motion?
Let me make sure, because now you guys are making me doubt.
Yes, it's 11. It goes through 11.
I move that we approve instructional personnel items E6 through E11 as
Second.
presented to the board.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Can I get personnel non-instructional items, please?
I move that we approve the non-instructional personnel items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Can I get a motion for item D3, board action items?
I move that we approve the board action items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Can I get a motion for item D4, finance items?
I move that we approve the finance items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item D5, business items.
I move that we approve the business items presented to the board for approval this
I
evening.
believe we've, discussion.
It's motions on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any discussion?
I believe we just approved the business items, did we not?
Just a second.
Aye, never mind.
No,
I take that back.
finance.
I skipped a page.
Do you have, no?
My discussion is done.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the business items? I feel like I have one, yes. I have discussion on I-5, the agreement with Orange Ulster BOCES. This is specifically, I just want to explain to our public, since we did get emails with some questions about our Mandarin program for specifically grade 7. This is to cover that instruction. So if any parents are watching or community members, you should know that specifically we are doing this to cover our Mandarin instruction in grade 7. It's going to cost a total of $24,702.93 divided over not to exceed, that amount. And it's going to be paid monthly as long as we need the service up through to the end of the year. We also are pursuing options to have in-person instruction as well. It's not that we're not doing that, but this is going to cover while those options are being pursued. So I just need to make that clear. So any more discussion on this item? On the whole business item? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we have adjournment. No, new business, sorry.
Pupil personnel.
Geez Louise, I am getting tired. Okay, can I get a motion on pupil personnel
I move that
services?
we approve the pupil personnel services items presented to the board for approval this evening.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we have closing items. Do we have new business? Trustee Valen?
I'm going to get this wrong, but during the policy presentation earlier, I referenced policy 7420 as being open for a month for public comment to the board at greenbergcsd.org. I should also note that there were additional policies that we reviewed at a previous meeting that had not been actually put before the public on the website, so those policies will remain open for an additional month. Those policies are policies 1530, 5250, and 5530. Those will now be scheduled for adoption at the regular meeting on January 21st. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Valen. Any more new business? Hearing none, can I get a motion for adjournment, please?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. It's 11:20, and good night.